presentation. Welcome to the appetizer section of Metal Ball. I'd like to congratulate all the students who passed the level. It just couldn't be very easy in these very difficult times. So I've been asked to demonstrate making two appetizers. One, we're going to need the oven floor tomato lemon tart, and the other one is a raw butternut squash ribbon salad with orange and lime. So without further ado, we're going to begin with the first appetizer, which is the tomato lemon tart. Oven to 375, and it's going to take a while to heat up. Some of the tools that you're going to need, you could use a knife, but if you want to slice up the tomatoes and lemons, you could use Madeline's, a gadget like this. I'm not. I'll use the knife. Rolling pin. You need a pastry brush. You need something to cut with. I've got a knife, but I also have for pizza. We need a ruler, we need the pan again, measuring spoons and measuring cups, something to grate with, and you can use a microplane if you don't have a grater. Parchment paper. Now, this is important. We're going to be rolling out our dough, our pastry on parchment paper. The recipe calls for 15 by 10, and you could mark out 15 by 10 if you want to make it exact. This parchment paper has lines, so it's easy to figure it out what we do. I'm going to actually make it a little bit bigger, 16.5 by 11.5, and you'll see why. We need tomato slices. I've already sliced them up. Once again, you could use a knife. We need the basil leaves cut up. I've used a package about this size. So we have that. We need oil, 1 tablespoon, 2 tablespoons divided, 1 tablespoon each. We need garlic, all minced up. It says 1 clove of garlic. I use 2 because I lose some of them when I grate it, and I like garlic, so that's there. Now, as far as the lemon goes, I made this recipe, and I found it extremely lemony. And I tried it 2 ways. One with just zest, because somebody recommended that. But I found that too lemony too. So I'm going to just use the zest of half a lemon. We have to roll out the pastry dough. The pastry dough comes frozen. Leave it overnight in the fridge. Take it out for about 20 minutes to soften it up. There's different packet styles. Some will fold open. This one doesn't. But you're going to need flour, because when we roll it out, it's going to stick a little bit. And we certainly need flour for the rolling pin. And that's key. And we may need more. So let's open the package up. Clean hands. I like pushing it out a little bit before I roll it. I've pre-marked where I wanted to roll it out to, so I'm going to first start going lengthwise. It doesn't have to be perfect. Some people will, and they'll have a long knife, ruler, cut it out. So if you did it 15 by 10, you're done. And what you will be doing is using a pastry brush and brushing within an inch, putting oil down. But I've looked at other recipes, and they make a suggestion and cut off. I'm going to cut off about 3/4 of an inch, and I'll use this. And you'll see what I'm going to do. And by the way, if you happen to tear this pastry dough, just dough. Just wet your fingers and you could kind of glue it back together. So I'm taking about 3/4 of an inch off. It doesn't have to be that perfect. And what I'm going to do is take this with wet fingers and just stick it on. And now we're ready to brush with the oil mixed with the garlic. So 1 tablespoon of oil and garlic. Now, as I said, I don't like the strong taste of lemon, so I'm going to actually mix in my lemon zest as well. Take your pastry brush, brush it all together. And then we're going to become a painter and just paint. You could put more, you know, it calls 1 tablespoon. You could go a little bit more than that. You need one more thing, and that's a fork. And that is punch in some holes. And the reason for this is you want to keep the puff pastry in the center from puffing up too much. So I'm just going to try to spread out the lemon. I've got too much on one side. You could use your fingers if you don't have a pastry brush. And we're set. Now, if you put the lemon slices down, the next thing to do is take the basil and just spread them out. Now, one recipe suggested you lose some of the taste of the basil by baking it. So you may want to save some of it and just cut it up even more and sprinkle it on top. Oh boy, you can really smell it. Now, as I said, I'm not a fan of the lemon, and other people will just skip the lemon altogether, maybe put a mustard base down, put the tomatoes on top with oil, various seasoning, oregano, depending on your recipe. I had 3 tomatoes, that was more than enough. If you got half a piece, that's fine. And we're done. Sprinkling that other tablespoon of oil. But it did call for putting lots of salt on and pepper. I'm a pepper fan. I would have put on at least half a teaspoon of pepper. I'm not a salt fan. I probably only would have put on half a teaspoon of salt, spread it around. Put it in the oven, and it calls for it to bake between 30 and 35 minutes, and that's what we're going to do. It calls for drizzling with some olive oil over that and maybe some creme fraiche. I will use a little bit of olive oil and we're in business. Cut off another piece. That's it. Enjoy. And now for the next recipe.